Good morning, beautiful people on this beautiful day here together. It is good to see you all this morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara. Welcome, beautiful people who are joining us online in our online sanctuary. We are one community in many places on this Earth Day celebration here. I'm the Reverend Julia Hamilton, and I am joined this morning by a whole host of folks in this congregation to celebrate this Earth Day together. We are a loving community of seekers, striving to live with integrity, nurture wonder, and inspire the actions that transform us and transform the world. I'd like to extend a special invitation to any visitors or friends or family who are joining us. We would love to get to know you better. If you're here in person, there's a little yellow card in your order of service. You can fill that out and drop it in the offertory plate or stop by the welcome table in the garden. Ask any questions you like. We also have an online connection card if you're joining us from farther afield. And it's a good way to keep up with what's going on here at the Unitarian Society and get connected to the congregation beyond Sunday morning. We have a lot going on here, so I invite you to take a look at that calendar in your order of service. And I want to highlight that coming up we have a couple of things that are exciting opportunities to grow deeper, starting with My Personal Theology workshop. Charlotte Brigante, our Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration, and Nate Rich are going to be leading a 2-session workshop on Sundays after services starting in May and June to dive deeper into what you believe, what you don't believe, and what you want to carry forward in your spiritual and religious life. It should be a wonderful discussion and opportunity to get to know some folks, so sign up or ask any questions with Charla. We have another opportunity to get to know each other in a different way through our open mic night on the 30th. And we have so many incredible, talented people, but talent is not required. It's not a talent show. It's an open mic night. So everyone is welcome to contribute their creativity, their costumes, your favorite poem, your music group, whatever it is. You are welcome to sign up and get on stage amongst the friendliest audience you will ever find. So join us for the open mic night on the 30th, Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock right in Parish Hall. We are also going to be gathering with the wider Santa Barbara interfaith community for Love Your Neighbor weekend, and there's a vigil at De La Guerra Plaza on May 4th. It's a Thursday evening to gather as an interfaith community and a wider community of Santa Barbara to stand in solidarity for immigration justice and with our immigrant neighbors and friends. It's an issue that we here have been committed to for many, many years, and I hope you can show up and join in for the Love Your Neighbor vigil on May 4th. Finally, one last request. Sunday mornings is the labor of many folks, and if you have a hankering to usher or greet or be part of making Sunday morning happen, we need a few more folks on our Sunday morning team. Once a month is all it takes, and you can talk to Eden in the front office to sign up. It's a great way to get involved if you're new or if you're looking for a new place to meet people. Sunday mornings is a wonderful opportunity. I invite you to take a breath. I invite me to take a breath. There's a lot going on in our lives, a lot going on in this community and in the world. And so let us take a moment to arrive here, with our body, heart, and mind in one place together this morning. Settle yourself and let the sound of our bell connect us.
As we light our chalice this morning, if you would like to participate from home, just write "chalice is lit," including the name of your street, in the chat box. Let this purest of flames kindle in each of our hearts a pledge to justice, a commitment to fellowship, and a reverence for the returning green of the earth. And here on my left is an opportunity for anyone to write down hopeful things they have experienced or noticed, which can be placed in the change jar. My own contribution is our annual Ventura to Ojai bike ride that Donis and I offer every year as an auction event. This was just yesterday, and I see some of you here who were along for the ride, as well as some people from years past. What is the positive change from this experience? To be in nature, with friends, with a common purpose, working up an appetite for the picnic, lunch in Libby Park, just moves you to a higher level of awareness, to a higher view of the beautiful world we share and the joy of life. And I'm gladly adding that to our jar.
Let us join together in song this morning. We are going to be singing one of the favorites appropriate for our Earth Day celebration, Blue Boat Home. It is in the teal hymnal, this one, and the words will be on your screen. It's 1064. Please rise in body and spirit.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can sing. I've been sailing all my life now, never hover or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I fly the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on. Greet the infinite sea before me, seamless sky, my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never hover or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Earth Day. We're going to need a little help with this time. You can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. We're going to need a little help with this time for all ages today, so be ready. And are there any kids who want to come up? I've got some questions that I feel like they might want to answer. No, nobody want to come up? I can shout them out. You can all help with this. So who knows how old the Earth is? Any guesses out there? Yes, Kevin. Ding, 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 ding. Yes, somewhere between 4.5 and 4.6 billion, billion with a B, billion years old. That's really old. Okay, so who knows how long humans have been on the Earth? Leland. You're in the ballpark. Anyone else have a guess? So, well, according to Smithsonian Magazine writer Brian Handwerk, the long evolutionary journey that created modern humans began with a single step, or more accurately, with the ability to walk on two legs. One of our earliest known ancestors, let me see if I can say this right, Sahelanthropus, began the slow transition from ape-like movement some 6 million years ago. But Homo sapiens, folks like us, wouldn't show up for another 5 million years or so. The beginning of the Homo sapiens lineage was a mere 550,000 to 75,000 years ago. So Earth's birthday, about 4.5 billion years ago. People like us invited to the party roughly 300,000 years ago. If my math is correct, and those of you who know me know that my math is often not correct, but if my math is correct, that's about 4,499,700,000 Earth birthday parties we humans missed out on. It's a lot. To get an idea of what that kind of timeline looks like, let's imagine that our sanctuary, all the way around, is a 24-hour clock with midnight right here and noon right at the other end of the middle aisle. And now let's use a little more imagination and see if we can condense the whole history of the Earth into 24 hours. Janie and I are going to need some help marking a few important events on our 24-hour clock. Midnight. I'd like to, Leland, will you come up and help us with this first step? Thanks. And he can hold the Earth ball. So at midnight marks the formation of Earth. So you're just going to stand right up here, Leland. You are the formation of Earth. Congratulations. Then, at about 3 a.m., right over where Janie is now, we see the first Earth rocks. Between midnight and 3 a.m., meteorites were bombarding the Earth, so probably a good idea, probably good that we missed that. At roughly 4 a.m., the simplest life forms, single-celled organisms called prokaryotes, emerged. So no life until 4 a.m. Finally, now we have to wait until noon. Janie's back there at the end of the aisle. At noon, we finally get some oxygen around here. Then, not until 4 hours later, at 6 p.m., back where Janie and Adam are, the first multicellular organisms show up. Back there. Then about an hour later at 7 p.m., the first animals arrive, but they haven't figured out how to climb up on land yet. They're pretty primitive. Then, oh, did I forget something? No, it's 7 p.m. We've got the animals. Where are we now? We've got the animals. Okay. Did I forget something, Janie, or we were all there? Okay, great. Now, at 9:52 p.m., we're going to need some people to come up here now. There is an invasion of land by plants. Plants are on land. 9:52 p.m. All over. Oh, you got to come all the way over here, Larry. Right there. Great. A few minutes later, at 9:56 p.m., the first dinosaurs join the party. Finally, things are getting lively. But they only hang around for about 30 minutes before they're all wiped out, so it must have been quite a party. Then, at 11:30, we get flowers. The first flowers start blooming on the earth. 11:39, the first mammals start emerging. And finally, at 11:59 and 40 seconds p.m., with just seconds to spare on our 24-hour clock, the first of our human ancestors stand up and start walking the earth. You got to stand closer to Leland because that's like right at the very end. So, if the history of Earth were condensed into 24 hours, humans would have existed for less than 2 minutes. It makes you think, doesn't it? The history of the Earth is truly vast, and we are just a teeny tiny part of it. And that's our time for all ages today. Thank you all.
One of the things I learned from that story was that dinosaurs never got to enjoy flowers. That was reserved for later on. The mammals got to enjoy all of this springtime bounty that we're experiencing. And in those last few seconds, all the care and compassion of human community arose. But care and compassion doesn't just happen on its own. It takes effort and work by good people caring for each other. From time to time, we take a moment on Sunday morning to recognize the work of this congregation. And this morning, we're going to recognize the work of the care team, the folks who are entrusted to embody the care and compassion of this community. And so in just a moment, I'm going to invite them up. But first, this is a good opportunity to remind folks of how the care team works. If you are going through a life transition, or if you are finding yourself in need of a compassionate ear, or a little help after a surgery, or a major event that you just need to process with somebody outside of your family, perhaps, the care team is here. And they can be reached via email at a dedicated email address. There's what we call a warm line, which is a confidential phone number. It's not a hotline, so if you are in an urgent crisis, this is not like somebody will get back to you in half an hour. We commit to responding within about a day or so. So this is a warm line. But the communications come in, they're confidential to the care team, they're shared with the minister, and then we respond as best as we are able to hold each other in care and compassion when we need it. However, it's not just the care team that does this work. The whole congregation is part of the extended care network of this community, and we need your help. So we have something called the Care Network, which is like the wider net of folks who say, I can give a ride, or I can make a meal, or I can help change a light bulb if somebody's recovering from knee surgery. And we need folks to participate in this care network. So in your order of service, you'll see there's a little responsive reading, and on the other side, there's a place for a name and contact information. You can also sign up through our website online, and if you fill this out and drop it in the offertory or stop by the care team table, they will add your name to the list of folks willing to be part of that wider care network of the congregation. We have the care table set up almost every Sunday so you can stop by and talk to somebody directly. And we also send cards on behalf of this community to folks. And anybody can start a card at the table. You don't have to wait for the care team to instigate. So if you know somebody who needs some love and care, you can go over the table, start a card, pass it around during social hour, send an email, and the care team will start one for you. It's a way we can all help share the love. So now I would like to invite the people who are on our care team to come forward so that we can recognize and commission them in this work. So will Linda Beers, Anita Bloom, Alan Edmondson, Judy Fontana, Joe Fior, Peter Hale, Kathy Lear, and Carol Schwitzer please join me up here. And the rest of you are going to have something to do here in just a moment. So pull out that pink insert or look at the words on the screen as these fine folks join me up here. All right, will you please rise in body and spirit? Thank you. Do you have all you have to say is we do. It's very simple. Members of the care team, do you covenant to nurture a spirit of connection and support within this congregation, to be a listening ear and an open heart, to be a faithful and confidential companion to members and friends on their life journeys, and to embody the collective love and nurturing spirit of this congregation? Do you, the people of the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara, empower and entrust the members of the care team to carry out this work and embody the compassionate and caring nature of this community?
We do. With gratitude and commissioning you to take up this ministry among us.
And so from the central flame of this congregation, I would like to light a second flame for our care team. May you all carry the blessings of this community with you in all your work and all your service. Wherever you go, we go too. Let's make a joyful noise. Thank you so much for the work you do. You may be seated. And now that you know who they are and you've seen them, feel free to reach out, because as hard as I have tried to cultivate telepathy, I haven't figured it out yet. So we only know what you share with us. So please share with us so that we can be companions on this journey. I invite you now to settle yourself once again wherever you are. Perhaps hold your hands open in your lap. You can close your eyes for a moment if you like. Get in touch with your breathing, the air that animates us, that moves through us. As we enter into a time of quiet reflection, I'd like to share a poem by Rosemary Watola Tromer titled Urgency. Again, the urge to bring gauze to the broken world, and medicine, and a plaster cast. Again, the urge to fix things, to heal them, to make them right. Again, the chance to do the work, which is to look in, to touch the pain, not become it. To see the world exactly as it is and still write it a love letter. To meet what is cracked with clarity, to mirror and grow whatever beauty we find. Let us take a moment in silence to touch the beauty and the heartache of this world. beautiful choir. Thank you. This Earth Day, I am delighted to say that we are launching a new group in this congregation, the Earth Advocates. The Earth Advocates have just started meeting, and they have put together their mission statement, which they want to share with you. The mission of the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara Earth Advocates is to educate, inspire, and take actions toward ending the climate emergency and promoting ecological sustainability. Our goal is to empower individuals within our congregation, change facilities and practices as needed, and advocate throughout the Santa Barbara community. If you're interested in what they're doing, you can seek out any of the folks involved, which are Julie Lope, Ariana Johnsma, Craig and Lorraine Woodman, Hod Gray, Chris Shorb, and Judy Ferris, and some other folks I know have been joining in. So if you have started with the Earth Advocates, raise your hand and wave to everyone. Oh, and we've got Sandy Grasso Boyd here, and Bill Boyd. And now I'd like to invite Ariana Johnsma to come forward and offer a reflection about her work for this critical moment in time. Come on up, Ariana.
Good morning. God bless 16-point type. I can actually read this. For those of you who don't know me, I've been a member of this community for about 10 years. I moved to Santa Barbara back in the 70s. After studying ecology at Indiana University, I spent 4 years at UCSB studying plant ecology. And for the past 23 years, I have had my own business, and that is landscape design. So for almost every day, at least 5 days a week, I am actively engaged with the earth and have my hands in the earth. I'm trying to bring sound principles of ecology to all my clients' gardens. I never married, I don't have children, I don't even have family in Santa Barbara any longer, but I do feel a deep and meaningful and abiding connection to the natural world. And I'm sure many of you do too. It nurtures and sustains me, and I feel that the natural world is my true family. I feel a spiritual connection to the earth and to all its creatures, and I trust that many of you feel the same way. So whenever I read the news, I am appalled by what the climate change has done to my physical and spiritual home. And about a year ago, I created a little prayer that I use as a mantra when I meditate. I want all people to live in peace and harmony with each other and with the earth. I want all people to live in peace and harmony with each other and with the earth. And when I say that for 15 minutes repeatedly, I come away with a great sense of comfort. But my little prayer, as comforting as it might be, has not ended the climate crisis. It hasn't truly assuaged my guilt either, for my own lack of inattention, or my lack of attention and my own inaction. So last month, when the UN climate report came out, I was again appalled. You have undoubtedly heard the ominous news. We have until the year 2030 to reduce our carbon emissions by roughly half. That's only 6.5 years. What used to be a climate crisis, I'm afraid, has slowly evolved to become, under our watch, a climate emergency. So when I realized this, I was frightened, I was confused, and I was certainly at a loss. What should I do? I knew that I had a moral obligation to do something. So I started educating myself. I stopped waiting for somebody else to take action. I took quizzes that led me to a greater realization of my own carbon contribution to the world, and that helped me establish a baseline for my future actions. And I started Earth Advocates because I saw, unfortunately, no other ecological team in our community here at UCSB. I had really hoped to take the easy path and join an already existing community, but that did not happen. So here I am, standing up here now asking other people to help me. I'm not the most educated person about climate awareness. I'm doing a lot of work to get there. But I do have an abiding passion for preserving the Earth and all its ecosystems. We would not exist without all the life on this planet. So I would like to do more than simply respect the web of life of which we are all a part, as our seventh principle asks us to do. I would like to actually speak for the Earth, and I would like you to speak on its behalf with me. Earth Advocates is an action-oriented group, but our committee, like the CARE team, consists of only 8 or so individuals. We need a network of many volunteers to help us accomplish our goals. With your help, we'll work toward ending the climate emergency, maybe getting it back to climate crisis, but away from emergency, and toward reestablishing ecological sustainability. We have approximately 20 action items that the committee has generated, and we're going to start on these this month. The first thing we've done is put a table in the courtyard, so do please come by and see us there. We will be staffing the table probably next week with library books from our library that deal with the climate crisis. We have our first recycling bin set up outside in the courtyard. We are going to be taking in thin film plastics. These are things that you do not put in your recycling bins for curbside. This goes directly to Ablitz. Ablitz Cleaners is a conduit to getting all of that thin film material turned into building material. Trex is a company that makes plastic decking and fencing materials. They take our plastic, they turn it into usable products. That's a win-win situation. We have many other good ideas. We have a film series that we're planning. We have individuals who are going to help us determine the carbon footprint for our facility so that we can see where the facility needs to make changes. We will have people involved on committees where we have activities here to see if we can have a best practices for those type of events. We will be bringing you ongoing news. You will get tired of hearing from us, but we will be bringing good news as well as sobering news. But we really do need your help. Julie Lope and I will be in the courtyard at our table. We have volunteer sign-up sheets available for you, and we would love to come and have you talk to us and sign up. Thank you. The Earth Care team, the Earth Advocates, is officially launched.
Every week we share 25% of the offering to worthy causes that reflect our UU values. This month is donated to the Alternative to Violence Project Santa Barbara, which specifically addresses local gang activity, offering participants a different way to solve their problems. If you would like to know more and get more information about this organization, talk to Donis following the service, for she is a member of the AVP team. If you're writing a check dedicated to this organization, be sure to write AVP-SB in the subject line. And please read with me the affirmation of gratitude and giving printed in your order of service. or on the TV screen. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others.
On a sleepy, endless ocean, when the world lay in a dream, there was rhythm in the splash and roll, not a voice to sing. So the moon fell on the breakers, and the morning warmed the waves, till a single cell did jump and hum, as joy as though to say, this is my home, this is my only home, this is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. Should I stay in the dark night alone, not because in the tomb of and the day shone bright around her, till the one turned into two, and the two into 10,000 things, and old things into new. And on some virgin beachhead, one lonesome critter crawled, and he looked about and shouted out his most astonished drawl. This is my home, this is my only home, this is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. Should I stay in the dark night alone, not because in the gentle arms of Eden. Then all the sky was buzzing, and the ground was carpet green, and the weary children of the world were dancing in between. And the people sang rejoicing, and the fields were glad with grain, this song of celebration from the cities on the plain. This is my home, this is my only home, this is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. Should I stay in the dark night alone, not because in the gentle arms of Eden. And there's smoke across the harbor, and there's factories on the shore, and the world is ill with greed and will and enterprise of war. But I will lay my burdens in the cradle of your grace, and the shining beaches of your love, and the sea of your embrace. This is my home, this is my only home, this is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. Should I stray in the dark night alone, not because in the gentle arms of Eden, but because in the gentle arms of Eden.
Good morning. Thank you, choir. Thank you, Care Team. Thank you, Earth Advocates. Thank you, Peter Hale and Heather and Matthew and Charlotte. And this is one of those mornings when I feel like that interdependent web inside this congregation is very visible and shining. So thank you all for making it happen. So when I was in seminary preparing to become a Unitarian Universalist minister, I did a year of work study at the chaplain's office at MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. A very different place from ministry most days. So for 9 months, I worked with this amazing Episcopalian priest who put me in charge of running a discussion group for graduate students on the ethical and moral implications of their work in science and technology. We called it The Bigger Picture. It was a small group, made up mostly of liberal Christians, Lutherans, Episcopalians mostly, and they wanted a place where they could think through the ethical problems of their work with someone on the outside of their area of expertise, someone who had absolutely no influence on their future career trajectories, someone who definitely did not know more than they did about engineering or cell biology or architecture, but someone who could act as a sounding board for their fears and concerns as they connected their faith with their work. Working with this group of people who were dedicated both to their careers and to living a life of faith gave me a window into ways that the stories from their tradition, in this case biblical stories, helped these very conscientious and very smart people make meaning out of their lives. The stories we tell and retell, the cultural touchstones that ground us in our worldview are very powerful, even when we don't think of them as literal. Consciously and unconsciously, these stories shape the ethical decisions we make in our work and in our day-to-day lives. And so this Earth Day, I've been thinking a lot about the story of the Garden of Eden. This is a story shared by 3 major religions in the world: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And I've been wondering how this particular story shapes our relationship with the earth, our moral and ethical decision-making, especially now as we deal with the threat of climate change. Eden is more than just a religious story. It's become this artistic and metaphorical touchstone, reflected in art and literature and language and song, embedded deeply in the fabric of Western culture. So when I say Eden, what do you think of? And I'm not talking about our office manager, by the way, whose name is Eden. But the biblical Eden, what do you think of? Eden? Garden? What else? Snakes? Apples? Temptation, abundance, paradise. What was that? The rib, right? Adam's rib, creation stories, right? So these are the story. We know the story of Eden, even if you've never actually even read the biblical text. These frames of reference are found in our world. The story of Eden is, of course, the first home of humanity. And the word most often used is garden. The first word you thought of was garden. So I decided to think carefully about what it means to think of the earth in a garden metaphor. So what are the qualities of a garden? Cultivated, right? Something with intention, right? It's not just accidental. Gardens don't just happen accidentally. Humans are in charge of gardens, right? We work within natural limits, but definitely gardens have something to do with control and perhaps ownership. Anything else about gardens? Weeds, right? There's an effort to separate the good and the bad, the wanted and the unwanted. Perhaps you can see some of the problems with a garden metaphor as our central way of understanding our relationship to the earth and all of creation. Eden is a garden created at the beginning of time, but not just any old garden. It's the concept of perfection, the perfect garden, the ideal home for people where there is no struggle, There is no work, there is no hunger, there is no thirst, there's no war or conflict, there is no shame yet in Eden. It is a paradise, the story says. The story says that we began in a place of perfection. And then what happens to that place of perfection? We blew it, right? We blew it. We got cast out of the garden in this story. Exile. We messed it up. We had the perfect home in our grasp, and we silly humans, we ruined it. We were doomed then to hunger and thirst and struggle and have painful childbirth. That was one of the consequences of getting cast out of Eden in this story, that life came from pain. And paradise was lost to us. So this is the Eden story in all of its complexity, that there was this beginning. And in the concept of there being a beginning, embedded in that is the concept of an ending as well. The ending might be a catastrophe, or it might be a rapture, or it might be both. But we are on a trajectory towards something, the story says, an eschaton in the theological language, this eschatology, this fancy word for the concept of the culmination of the divine plan. The story of Eden says that we come from paradise and we're heading someday to apocalypse, where good will finally triumph over evil, but not before we go through some stuff. And perfection will be restored. And in the meantime, we're stuck in the messy middle. Our exile from Eden begins this trajectory toward apocalypse. Now, you may not think any of this is literal truth. I certainly don't. And you may not even think much about biblical stories in your day-to-day life. But these cultural metaphors, they run deep within our systems. And so sometimes it's good to excavate them a little bit, to uncover the way they work in our world and whether we want to hold on to those stories or not. Apocalypse, the root meaning of the Greek word apocalypse, simply means to reveal, to uncover, hence the name of the book of Revelations at the end of the Christian Bible. Apocalypse, to reveal the ending. Amy, the MIT chaplain who I worked for back in the seminary, she had this saying taped to her office door. It said, "It will be all right in the end. If it's not all right, it's not the end." Right? This is her way of saying, keep going, push through the struggle. There's good things waiting. She was kind of this universalist at heart. She believed that everyone would be reconciled with God at the end. But for her and for the graduate students I worked with, the whole concept that there was an end was taken for granted, just as it was assumed there was a beginning, even if they understood Eden as a metaphor. This story, this biblical story that we come from paradise and on our way toward perfection, and that it's up to us to figure it out in between, this is powerful. But I wonder, is this the story we need right now? The story of perfection and apocalypse? Or do we need to learn a new story, a new way of navigating our relationship with this planet we share? What if there was no end? What if there was no beginning? What if there was never a paradise and the earth was not made for humanity? How would this open up new possibilities for us to move forward in this critical moment? So I want to take a few minutes with you all to engage in a little theological project with me this morning, and that's to deconstruct the story of the Garden of Eden. And I want to add a caveat. I'm not doing this to shake my finger at Christianity, because I know quite a few liberal Christians who would probably agree with just about everything I'm about to say. But rather, I'm interested in the way that stories, powerful stories, shape us, so that we can become aware of the way stories shape us and make choices about how we want to interact with them, because I believe that stories matter. So the first challenge I want to make towards our cultural orientation toward Eden is the concept of the centrality of humanity in the planetary story. And I don't think I need to go into much detail on this one. I see a lot of you nodding your heads already, right? Earth was not given to humanity as a garden to be consumed. This way of thinking of people at the apex and everything else underneath, this human-centric worldview has caused us all sorts of problems. And of course, it's only natural that we put ourselves as the protagonists of our story. That is, in some ways, what it means to be human. But I'm asking us to do the hard work of decentering ourselves, because this story of humans at the apex has caused all sorts of problems, from the clear-cutting of forests, to the extraction of fossil fuels, to the colonialism that forced people off their lands all over the world so resources could be stripped out from under them. This idea that humans are here to consume and control has caused us no end of trouble. So let's get that out in the open right up front, that Earth was not created for our benefit. As our Earth clock showed here this morning, we've only been here for a very short amount of time after all. The dinosaurs got a whole half hour. Plants were around for most of the day. We are just a mere blip. The Earth will continue, even if we don't. We were not given dominion over the world. And this helped me let go of this fear of losing something, to see more clearly what is at stake. We cannot lose something that was never ours to begin with. We cannot lose the Earth, but we can lose ourselves. We can lose our way on the Earth. It is we humans who get lost in this mess, not the planet. Which brings me to the second challenge, the idea of the Earth as having been perfect sometime in the past. That somewhere back there was a moment of perfection, and that our job is to get back to that perfection. I think the dinosaurs would disagree that the Earth was ever perfect, right? And it's only natural sometimes to romanticize our relationship with the past, the idyllic summers of our youth, the snows of winters gone by. Sometimes I fall into this when I'm walking on the beach with my daughter, and I wonder where all the abalone shells went that I used to remember when I was a kid picking up there. But I can tell you right now, there is nothing that will make your kids tune out faster than listening to adults wax romantic about the way things used to be. So if we want to build a multi-generational climate response, spending all our time looking back is not going to help us. Spending all our time talking about what used to be is not going to build the future that we want to inhabit. And more importantly, that the next generation knows they will inhabit. Their eyes are forward, and we have to follow their gaze. The next piece of the story of Eden that I want to challenge is the idea that beauty and joy and abundance are only possible in the VIP room, right? I call this the velvet rope version of Eden. That you must earn a place in paradise, that there are bouncers waiting to kick you out, in this case cherubim with flaming swords, to keep those unworthy humans from messing it up again. This common interpretation tells us that we don't deserve to live in peace and harmony, that we don't deserve to have good and beautiful things because we are fundamentally flawed and untrustworthy with beauty. We are the riffraff outside the walls of the garden, trying to peek through to see if we can sneak a peek of the good stuff inside. And sometimes I can hear this thread of unworthiness, even if we don't know we're doing it, in our current climate discussions, even with good folks who are working hard to make change. Have you ever heard someone say, well, maybe the Earth would be better off without us, right? That's that sense of unworthiness creeping in. Every time we don't believe in our own capacity to change, to get better, to build a beautiful future, when we think of ourselves as fundamentally flawed, we're giving into this belief of unworthiness from the beginning. And of course, humans can be greedy and self-centered and cruel, but we can also be kind and collaborative and good. We all deserve beauty and comfort and joy. Even the oil executives deserve beauty and comfort and joy. We all do. Nature is not a reward for good behavior, folks. Which brings me to the final, and I think perhaps the most harmful legacy of the story of Paradise Lost, and that is the idea of exile. What does it do to us that our most common origin story in Western culture is the story of being cast out of the land? It's a story of severance, of being cut off from the sacred. In the biblical story, inside the garden, it is a paradise, a place of joy and belonging, a place of love and respect and honor, where Adam and Eve live without shame. And then after they disobey, this is what God tells them in Genesis 3. Cursed is the ground because of you. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat of the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread, until you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. You are dust, and to dust you shall return. This is what we have been told, that we live on cursed ground of the mundane world instead of the sacred ground of paradise. Just as the concept of a beginning creates the concept of an end, so the existence of Eden as a set-apart, separate place creates the existence of not Eden, which is where we are. And that earth was once a garden of eternal delight, but it has been taken from us, and we live in exile. And if the earth is no longer sacred, if we no longer live in a place beloved of God, if we have been severed from our heart's home, then of course it follows that we have been severed from accountability for the way we treat the earth, that the earth becomes something we struggle against rather than celebrate our relationship with. Why act in reverence for cursed ground? Somewhere deep in our unconscious, it seems that we can never quite shake the feeling that something has been lost, that something has been broken, and we are never quite at home. The natural world, the world of struggle and survival, this story tells us, at least in one interpretation, a common interpretation, it tells us the earth is not our true home. What damage does this interpretation of the story do to us? If the story of Eden is foundational to Western culture, it means that we have lived in exile right from the start, severed from our sacred connection to the land right from the start. Whether we believe in the Garden of Eden is beside the point, because whether we like it or not, we are shaped by this story in deep ways for thousands of years in Western culture. My friends, we have to uproot this conversation around unworthiness and exile if we want to find a way forward. We have to stop trying to get back to Paradise Lost and find a different story to tell. But this is where the good news comes in. I'm not going to leave you here, right, just bereft of Eden. We human beings, we are diverse and we are clever, and we have been telling all kinds of stories in all kinds of languages throughout our history. And if we listen, we can hear different ways of understanding. There's this little green book that just came out that I want to recommend to you. It's called Not Too Late: Changing the Climate Story from Despair to Possibility. And it's an anthology by Rebecca Solnit and Thelma Young Lutunatabua. And so it's an anthology, which means there's little bite-sized pieces, 27 essays. You don't have to read the whole thing all at once. And in it, there's an essay by Julian Aguan, who's an indigenous human rights lawyer from Guam. And he was visiting leaders from Fiji, which is another coral atoll in danger from rising sea levels. And when he was visiting the people in Fiji, he discovered this word for this foundational concept called Vanua, a word that means the land and the people all at once. One concept. the land and the people are one. Humans on Fiji were seen as interrelational with the earth rather than exiled from it. And so Mr. Agwan describes that because of this feeling of fundamental interconnectedness, as villages are uprooted from their ancestral lands to move to higher ground because of rising sea levels, it's creating this hole in their hearts. And when I read that, I thought, I know that hole, because it's in my heart too. The sense of dislocation that it causes. And so, dislocation and exile, these fundamental stories we tell, they create holes in our hearts that we have to find a way of healing by creating new stories, stories of connection and relationship. Maybe it's time to let go of the Garden of Eden and find our way home to earth. This earth, this sacred ground that we have never been lost from, that can never be lost to us, that we can never be sent away from. We won't know this new story until we live it, my friends. There is still time. There is still time to rise up in this new story, or perhaps more accurately, to let some old stories rise up and be recast until together, as a globe, as an entirety, we create a new story that has never been told before. This is a global movement that has never been done before. And it can include all of us on this earth, this sacred earth, together. This is our home. This is the only sacred ground that we have ever known. This is our time, and it is not too late. Let us tell a different story, my friends. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. Let us rise in body and spirit and sing together Rising Green. It's also in this teal hymnal. It is, what number, Matthew?
1068.
1068 in the teal hymnal.
My blood doth rise in the roots of yon oak, her sap doth run in my veins, thou lift my soul like the open sky, where the stars forever have lain, where the stars, where the stars, where the stars forever have lain. My hands hold the weavings of time without end, my sight as deep as the sea, beating my heart sounds the measures of old, that of love's eternity, that of love, that of love, that of love's eternity. I feel the tides as they answer the moon, rushing on a far distant sound. Winging my song is the wind of my breast, and my love blows over the land. And my love, and my love, and my love blows over the land. My foot carries days of the old into new. Our dream shows us the way.
right where you are, risen in body and spirit. Get connected however you would like to that sense of larger life. You can hold hands if you have permission from the person next to you, or put your hands over your heart, or hold them open. However it is that you want to feel yourself as part of this beautiful interdependent web. And as you go out into this beautiful and heartbreaking world, may the light of love shine upon you, out from within you, be gracious unto you, and bring you peace. For this is the day we are given. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Let us call out a blessing.